Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Kevin Zhu. I'm from the University of Toronto, where I currently conduct research in the Taylor Group. So one of our areas of research interests is in carbohydrate chemistry, but for me, over the past year, I've been doing work towards the photoredox-enabled homologation of ribonucleosides towards nucleosides. So I'll begin with a brief introduction towards nucleic acids, TNAs. So they're comprised of tetrose 4-carbon sugars rather than the ribose 5-carbon sugars found in traditional genetic material. They're xenobiotic, so they're not naturally synthesized, they don't appear in nature, but they're still able to support the fundamental Watson-Crick base pairing rules. So here I just got two kind of model nucleotide systems. So on the left is kind of the traditional system. So you notice the 5 to 3 prime connectivity between the monomers, whereas in the 3O nucleotide models is a 3' to 2' connection. So a hallmark of sort of non-natural versus natural genetic material is kind of the backbone repeat units. So they will span 6 covalent bonds in natural systems, and it has been observed that in non-natural systems they will deviate from this number. So here we have 6 covalent bonds highlighted in blue in the natural systems versus deviating. This is 5 covalent bonds long. And just to provide more kind of examples, here we have 3 different 5-bond backbone separated systems, but only the one on the left is not able to support Watson-Crick base pairing, and that's just based on the observation that you require a pseudo-diaxial kind of phosphodiester junction connectivity to promote this kind of base pairing property. So it's not only exclusive to TNAs, but that's just an observation that was made. So just some quick applications. They can duplex with DNA and RNA. They're biologically stable. They're able to resist nuclease cleavage, and by that you can already imagine the applications in nucleoside or nucleic acid therapies, such as currently they're being investigated for aptamers, biosensor building blocks, and the aptamers can additionally be integrated into proteolysis targeting chimeras, which are sort of bifunctionally linked kind of molecules that are intended to degrade protein targets of interest. So in terms of the organic chemistry itself, currently there's not too much literature on the total or partial syntheses of these threose nucleic acids or threose sugars. Currently, they're often accessed through kind of already somewhat complex, already available substrates, so just vitamin C here, and through very lengthy step procedures affording low to moderate yields. There's room for improvement, and that's where my kind of work comes in. So we are intending on starting from readily available ribonucleosides to generate the erythronucleoside following a sort of cleavage of the 5' carbon, so that's the dehomologation, through differential functionalization of the 5' hydroxyl to perform different photoredox chemistry, and using, for my work, uridine as a model substrates to eventually be applied to all the typical nucleosides. And eventually, following this generation, we hope to selectively epimerize the 3' hydroxyl position to generate the kind of trans isomer, and following phosphorylation, get our desired 3-nucleoside triphosphate. So my work mostly has been on the first step, which has been quite an adventure. So just some quick background on one of the functional groups that I used for the 5' position. So NHPs are implicated in photoredox chemistry. Currently, a common application is through iridium and contrast conditions paired with an alkene. You kind of form a CC bond, so through kind of radical excitation and kind of radical fragmentation of the NO bond, and then fragmentation of the alkoxyl radical to form the alkyl radical. You kind of, it's a cycle that eventually combines with the alkene to form the CC bond. So there's 2 example works from past papers. So we are intending on using this sort of chemistry to perform CH functionalization at the 4' position of our sugar. So just my synthesis. So simple protection chemistry, Mitsunobu, and following deprotection, we get our substrate for testing under decent yields. And applying this chemistry, this actually does not work on this specific substrate. So there's a phenomenon I'll talk about coming up, but essentially, given these conditions under dioxanes, acetonitrile, and methanol, it actually does not generate our desired product, but instead it generates the starting uridine. We've tried additional other HAT kind of additives on top of or the conchester, such as triphenylsilane, trisulfurylsilane, triphenylsilane, but they don't really generate our product either. They just reduce the conversion of the starting material. So what explains that result is this crude kind of transition state image of the phenomena. So intramolecular six-membered kind of intramolecular six-membered ring kind of hydrogen bonding figure, where the 3' open hydroxyl will transiently hydrogen bond with the 5' alkoxyl radical that will be formed through this photoredox chemistry. So in work done by Hernandez, Garcia, and co-workers, this kind of chemistry under tributyl tin AIBN conditions for their fragmentation only works under non-hydrogen bond donating solvents, such as benzene in their case, which is the only solvent that worked for them. And they found that hydrogen bond atom donating solvents, such as THF, acetonitrile, led to a hydrogen atom transfer product. So in our case, it would be the uridine. But for our work, our starting material is heavily limited by its solubility. So that's why we're only really able to use methanol, acetonitrile dioxanes. We tried toluene. It's just a suspension that does not react. So this is a variant of the previous chemistry. So instead of the ether, we use the ester. So again, simple oxidation chemistry, followed by a Stegwick esterification. We generate our starting material for testing. Although in this case, I will comment on the difficulty of purifying NHP-based compounds, and in general, when you're working with nucleosides, purification is tough. You're limited to often just sort of precipitation-based methods, at least in my experience. Columns, in the case of the NHP ether previously, emits no route. You generate triphenyl phosphine oxide. That's difficult to remove, but we were able to do it through methanol kind of based sonication and precipitation. In this case, we were only able to try columns, which still did not achieve, I guess, quantitative purity is what I'm looking for photoredox chemistry, because radical chemistry, you would prefer a kind of clean starting material. But through mostly, I would say, clean reagents, we were able to generate our product to still not great yields under the same conditions, just using a Unix-based kind of additive. So another kind of substrate that we screened, which is 5'-aldehyde. Again, oxidation chemistry, just some kind of manipulation for purification, column purification, and conversion into its aldehyde for a reaction, using tetrabutammonium decatungstate conditions with UV and various HAT kind of additives. So that kind of promotes the is a HAT mediator. It kind of abstracts the hydrogen from the aldehyde, and then the aldehyde fragments to kind of form carbon monoxide. The CO fragments off to form carbon monoxide, so that's kind of a mechanistic insight. So using these additives, still not great yields, but I will get to the good part. So the success of my project come in the form of conversion of the 5' OH to the carboxylic acid, and using conditions outlined by Kasani and co-workers at the University of Gothenburg. So they use an actinium-based catalyst system with a disulfide HAE donor, as well as a base on the side. They're able to generate the CH functionalization. So I'll briefly touch on this kind of mechanism. So carboxylic acid with base promoting the carboxylate anion. The excited photocatalyst abstracts a radical from the carboxylate anion, given its high oxidation potential. And this carboxylate radical fragments off, forming CO2. And this radical on the photocatalyst combines with the sulfide radical in equilibrium with the disulfide to abstract the original carboxylic acid hydrogen, transferring onto the combining with the alkyl radical to form the CH functionalization. So my chemistry, again, oxidation chemistry, and then this is sort of the scheme for our reductive decarboxylation. So we use a slightly different actinium variant, so just different substituents. So this is just mezidyl diterbutylphenyl tetrafluoroborate. diphenyl disulfide, and then either lurine or toluene works okay. So just the basic, I guess, optimizations. So no photocast, no side disulfide, no base, so the controls were accounted for. Just some minor variations in base equivalence, concentration, photocast, derivatives, and I guess base. This requires very dilute. This is a very kind of dilute reaction, but it was able to generate a product in great yields. And currently we're aiming on, or currently I've already isolated this and I'm working on the epimerization step that is to be discussed here. So what the wetland group at MIT had developed this kind of protocol for this epimerization of misthildiols using iridium, Dabco, and triphenylsilane I still need to analyze the results for this reaction, but that is also part of my future scope. So just overall, generated across 5 steps, or 47% yield generated across 5 steps to the erythronucleoside. So that is including the protection and deprotection. In the future, I want to actually get rid of the protection, deprotection. I'm currently looking at selective 5' alcohol oxidations, because as you recall, I used the isopropyl protection for the 2', 3' hydroxyls. It would be nice to get rid of those steps, but currently, I guess tempo chemistry I'll comment on. Work by this group have outlined that this chemistry, so tempo is typically considered at least somewhat like primary alcohol selective, but in the specific case of purose cis diols, so this works for transdiols, but in our case, it would actually cleave the 2', 3' carbon-carbon bond and oxidize the 2', 3' hydroxyls over the 5'. So that was just interesting. I was also trying to figure out some other methods of primary alcohol kind of oxidation. I know titanium dioxide exists, but I don't know if that's good. Also, just to comment more on the epimerization step previously, I know there's like enzyme chemistry for specific or selective or regioselective epimerization. So just some future directions I was looking at. And I just want to finish off with acknowledging my group, my professor, Professor Mark Taylor, my graduate student mentor, and all the other graduate students and undergraduates in the Taylor group. This is an old photo, I'm not in here. But, and yeah, I'm open to attempt at any questions.